Hi, I'm Jason Ford. Where are you? From MakingStarWars.net. And this is Rob, the dude.
How you
Uh,
doing?
I was going through some stuff, and I was hoping to find my old first Rob. You're the second Rob. My first Rob, which is Rob the robot. Couldn't find him, but I did find the Eye of the Storm, which I got when I got my original Nintendo in 1987. I want to say it was when the Nintendo was new from
I'm
Best.
surprised no one ever bundled that with the game console as a gimmick. I'm surprised it never turned into a game of some sort. Like, move the character across the globe. I
Yeah,
could see that. Yeah.
this is the one that was in Weird Science, same
Hmm.
model, and I saw it in in a bunch of like really bad '80s movies too. But yeah. So today we have a kind of interesting thing, and I am mostly getting out ahead of it, to be honest with you. Not because I think it's real or know if it's real, but is so Indira Varma is listed as playing Tia in Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, it's Internet Movie Database. Doesn't mean it's real at all. And it's always something that you need to remember is that anybody with a pro account can add most anything to these listings. So I could go say her
Hot
name is
me.
Tia Carrera, Dreamweaver.
That's always anytime you say Tia because I got to wink at her once. Like
Yeah.
not in a catty way. Like we bumped into one another.
Oh
They've
no, it
told
was
this
it
story
was
before.
it was definitely
I gave her the
like
how you doing
what's
before.
up?
Yeah. I gave her what's up, kid. She gave me the one of the happiest moments of my high school days. That two
When
milliseconds.
I went to prom with my girlfriend, she was in the A plus posse. I always dated smart, nerdy girls that were kind of hot. That was my thing. And her A plus posse was full of rich kids from Long Beach, which all of my friends from Long Beach are all poor. So it was
Grand
weird.
Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah. They
It
end
straight
up
up is
go,
Long Beach. Like
oh, for sure. Yeah, they end up we are taking a limo there, and so we're gonna meet at her friend's house, right? We go to her friend's house, and her friend's house is the house, in the very first scene of Lethal Weapon when the chick takes out her boobies and then jumps on the car and kills herself.
vaguely remember, but yes.
Yeah, like somebody commits suicide or as a murder or
Right.
suicide in the opening sequence. And it was that apartment. It was that same
Oh.
building that she jumps off of. And so I'm like, whoa, I'm in the Lethal Weapon booby room. Nice. And then the dad is this like rich poet, and he is like, hey, I hear you're in a band. He's like, want to hear some of my poetry? I'm like, no. And he's like, let me read
Spoken
you one.
word.
Yeah, and he starts
Spoken word.
reading me one, and it was just a bunch of pretentious rich baby bullshit. And then he's like, yeah, want to see my guitar? He's like, it's the one that was in Wayne's World.
Oh, okay. So then he pulled out his penis. He's like, no, no, no.
No, no, he didn't pull out his penis.
Oh.
Um,
Whew.
yeah, no, thankfully. But he he had the white Strat that Tia Carrera and Wayne are oogling in one of the shots. He owned it,
Right.
a prop or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so I got to play it. Yeah, I wasn't that impressed. I really was pretty much just it was a nice Strat, but who gives a shit?
Okay then.
Yeah, exactly. I had a Wayne's World hat. I wore it to school.
I told you I got invited to this convention this year that has been postponed, obviously, because of the 100th wave. But is in Aurora, Peoria, Illinois, or whatever. And I'm like, Wayne's World town? Like,
Yeah.
so I was going to get the hat and just wear the long wig and just do that all weekend and be like, gotta do it. It's been a dream.
Yeah, I used to go to school and act out SNL skits from the weekend that acted before, because kids couldn't watch it. Some of the kids in school, and boy, is that embarrassing. I'm glad we didn't have TikTok or some bullshit that I would have been on back then.
When you sent this to me, you were like, Tia's in it. And I'm like, from the Planet Career? And then I had to look at the YouTube link and you're like, Tia Organa. And I'm
So
like, where do I remember that name? Hold on, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, this sounds something familiar, but I couldn't place it, so I'm like, I'm gonna go to Google.
I think it was
Children of the
Children
Jedi.
of the Jedi.
The
Yeah,
only thing I remember about that book is the awesome Drew Struzan cover. Because if it had a Drew Struzan cover, Rob bought it for
right.
certain. But I couldn't tell you what that was. I think that was when they were born, the kids. But don't. I didn't even look up what the story was about. I just vaguely remember her talking about her uncle and aunt in that story. Am I right or wrong?
You are very much right. And there was a oh shit, did I already lose it? I think I already lost it. I had a quote up and I lost it. Whatever. It was basically Leia going like, I had an Aunt Tia and Rogue and Aunt Rogue and all of these other names, and she's like, they wanted me to be a pretty little princess, but I didn't want to be a pretty little princess. That was the like gist of it.
See, Rogue married Obi, and she was Rogue One.
Right? Rogue. Her middle name was Obi. She was named after Obi-Wan. Rogue Obi. Well, but
Rob, your jokes suck.
Robert, fuck you, Rob. No, but anyways, yeah. So do I? Am I all in on this? In no way am I. But and Internet Movie Database, anybody could alter that. Some expanded universe person who's just yearning for the days of seeing live action Tia could have put
it is a real weird take, you know.
It's a weird take, but it's
to pull
also,
that one out is odd.
It also, though, has more logic to it than a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm saying it's weird if you were to make it up.
Yeah,
it's like you had to. I mean, props to pulling out some esoteric shit. Like
yeah.
Yeah, that's some.
I mean, because she does have that like that light skin, dark complexion. Am I space Latino, am I space Italian kind of thing going on with Bella Organa and Leia and all that stuff? You know what I mean? Like that.
Problem is, I still remember the original episode 1 Bale.
Yeah,
the Dennis Lawson looking dude in a
excuse me, sir. That is Adrian fucking Dunbar, bro.
In a 1912 like czarist outfit. You know?
Yes.
The
naval imperialist officer Adrian Dunbar,
Esquire
the third. Yeah, but he where was I going with this? Yeah. It definitely could be one of those things where like, well, we need somebody, and hey, that would be fun if we made it Tia. Remember Tia, and you know, or they might have had like what kind of names do we have associated with the Organas we could pull from? Oh, I like that. Might have pulled it because I mean, definitely what we've seen of the character so far is pretty much just her walking, drinking a frappuccino or some shit, dressed as an Imperial officer.
Is that in a cartoon?
No. It was an Obi-Wan Kenobi candid shot of her down in Manhattan Beach Studios walking.
Oh, okay. I was like, was that in one of the Clone Wars? Did I miss that? Like,
no. So it could be.
I see. But from behind the scenes.
But once again, we've had Luke, Han Solo, Jyn Erso, Cassian Andor, and every other fucking character dressed up as an Imperial at some point, because sneaking around is something you do in Star Wars. It's like the fun Breakfast Club moment.
It's psycho.
Yeah.
I love it.
But so it doesn't mean, so she could be an Imperial officer, and this could just be bullshit. She may be an Imperial officer, and it could just be Tia, and it's a weird coincidence, I mean, it sounds like a pretty nice name for an Imperial, though, because when whenever I hear Tia, I always think of my like neighbor's aunt. So they all call her Tia. You know what I mean? It is true.
You had to do some California math on that one. Sorry.
Yeah. No, if you're from Mexico, or you know what I mean, you have roots in Mexico, it's like everybody calls her aunt their Tia. And
except my dad, he was as white as it gets for a Mexican. Like, it's
really?
Like it's aunt. Like, yeah, he was raised by someone who was like, you leave the old world behind, and I'm like, it's not the old world. It was fucking Guam. Like,
yeah,
quite modern.
Well, it's like no joke. The last 3 girls that I've dated in any kind of like serious way all came from around West Covina.
Okay.
and they're all of Mexican ancestry who don't speak Spanish, and they all come from families like that, where everyone was like, we're culturally white now, and then they're all like, hey, we kind of want to know about our ancestry here. We kind of don't really like white imperialism, you know. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but thankfully they like me, so I'll take that part of it.
We don't like white imperialism, but Jason's welcome.
Hey,
Rock my world.
yeah, or colonialism is what I should have said. But yeah, so am I buying it? Not necessarily, but I'm not discounting it. It's more of a food for thought. I somebody in the question was like, Internet Movie Database isn't like a official source, right? And I'm like, I didn't
Sure.
answer. I said check the show out, 9 minutes. But it's like, yeah, definitely I know that. I've been shouting it from the top of my lungs since they've been saying every little person was a main character. There was this weird person that, or maybe this hilarious person, I don't know, but who was going to IMDb and putting little people in Star Wars roles that they weren't, and giving them extravagant names.
Oh,
Like
you don't mean little people. You mean small act, like
small actors, yeah,
like C-list act. I don't want to say C-list, but up and
no,
coming actors,
little
right?
little people, and calling them like, this is Mauser McClintlock and shit like that. And I was just like, after a while, I'm like, I know that's not going to be real. They eventually stopped. They probably didn't like
But
episode whatever and stopped doing it.
but you could have easily come on here and been like, I have sources say it's possible, like bullshit, you know. So
Yeah,
you're like, no, it's just an IMDb. Who knows? But if so, I mean, look, weird stuff has popped up on IMDb that turned out to be true. Like, I'm not, I've been anti IMDb for I don't know, 15 years now. But every now and then, some shit does come across, and it's always that weird, huh? You know, like if it were like Indrina Varna, the Sith Inquisitor, you know what I mean? Blah 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 blah. I'd be more like, I don't know about all that.
one of the things that I used to do whenever I would get names that I couldn't get double verified, or that I was just like sitting on, not sure about, not confident, or just didn't feel like actually dealing with the bullshit around it, I would sit on the names and have them for a bit, and then like on a casting website, Nolan Ryan would show up in there, and it would be like Nolan Ryan is playing Tia, and it would have like as their last thing they did, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I know it's Tia for sure. Like I had that with some of the other Rogue One actors, not Jin. I had Jin and Cassian early, and different spellings, by the way, of Cassian, the original spelling, and then later on,
With the K.
what was his name? The pilot who defects. What was his name again?
I'm the pilot.
I'm the pilot.
Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed's character, who is, by the way, like one of the best
name?
actors to be in any of these new movies. And I like the character, and he fucking rocked it. But man, it's kind of a shame that he was that character, because that guy has so much talent. I would love to have seen him have something more with a focus on him, but maybe we'll get that in the live action television shows. Anyways, where I was going with it was, yeah, we're at that stage now where people have moved on. This shit wrapped now months ago now, and they're starting to Bodhi Rook. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Nolan. We are to the stage now where people are starting to move on, and these old CVs, or whatever you want to call it, are starting to get updated. And that's one of the other reasons why I'm like, well, we are really at that moment in time when that shit starts to happen on accident. Agents just start updating, not realizing what they're supposed to do and stuff like that. So, Adira Varma is not necessarily so small that like you have it where they start accidentally pushing shit and it goes that way, but it's possible. So we're just throwing it out there and it's not like there was like some, huge news story today that really like rocked the foundations of the Star Wars fandom that we're talking about instead at the moment.
No, I do that every day, sadly, on the show. Yeah, that's what I do.
Rob, you went too far, and I'm going to talk about.
I go too far. I know.
I'm going to talk about how you went too far.
I'm in sack.
My buddy Del Rio.
Oh no.
He no. So
ratted me out.
Del Rio, DM'd me, and he is, I thought, this is kind of fun, so we'll talk about it for a second. He wrote me a letter, a DM, and what he was saying is that, like, he doesn't like the fact that he doesn't like The Last Jedi, but he ends up feeling like he gets lumped in with the more radical elements of the haters, and I could understand that. Like, not, this is probably not a fair example, but imagine if there was an outrageous politician and you happen to be a part of that party. Then now you're like, well, yeah, that person's an outrageous asshole, but that's not me. I just happen to actually politically align here, But,
I guess, like, just before you, I know there's a lot of context here. We'll
yeah,
get to it. On a surface level, let's all pretend that 99.9 of us have been engaged in this community since at least the mid 90s. Can we say that probably Del Rio and a lot of the fans out there, we've all been actively engaging with Star Wars since at least the special editions. Right? So
if you're not like 15, 16 to, like, if you're born in the
out there
90s,
watching this show.
Yeah.
Some are. I would have been one of those ones where I'm watching it. I get it. But the majority of us are, we've been doing this a while.
You're a Brody.
Some of us have hated the prequels and then loved the prequels, or loved, hated, loved. It goes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And when the entire internet says, all you people who fucking love it are just shills for Lucas, or whatever, you have to always take it within context of fandom, I guess, at the worst. To take it in context of being lumped in with some political party, you're not going to remind me of all the political movements 20 years ago that don't involve possibly the invasion of Iraq. Like, you can't. Like,
listen, I want an explicit logo on my music. Thanks, Tipper Gore, you fucking monster.
But we do live in an era where a grip of these dudes, was it like, was the thing the other day, was like 97% of the Twitter stuff is from like 3% of the actual users. Like, they get this small minority of like active users get the loudest voice.
Right.
So we're pretty fair on here. But like, if we're like, hey, people didn't like it because of this, we're generalizing, because if we have a specific talk about all the complexities of a subject every time we bring up a movie, we're going to be here for 9 hours prefacing before we just say what you want to say. Why you got to preface, Rob? No one's talking to anyone individually on this show. I mean,
I'm talking to
how many times have I answered you directly and you've been like, I'm not talking to you, Rob, I'm talking to them. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Shut the fuck up, Rob. I'm talking to my friends here.
Fuck.
Okay, so he writes and he says, Mr. Del Rio says, thank you for asking me my opinion on The Last Jedi. I'm not a very elegant writer, as Rob pointed out yesterday on the show, but I will do my best. God, Rob, using the viewer.
I did not comment on your elegant writing.
I can't say that I'm an expert on cinema, and don't judge The Last Jedi as cinema. I just judge it as a Star Wars movie and compare it to the Star Wars movies that came before and after. The only preconceived notion or expectation I had for the film was that I expected Luke to fill the Yoda role in teaching Rey about the Force. I did not expect Luke to have a huge role in the movie, as it wasn't his movie. I think Rian Johnson had a very good plan and story for Luke, Rey, and Kylo, but had no idea what to do with the other characters. I love TFA and was really excited for what we would see with those characters moving forward, and feel like Finn was wasted in The Last Jedi, which is a real shame considering how original of a character he was compared to what we had seen before, and to have a person of color be well represented in a blockbuster film.
I agree.
I agree too. I think Rian had a responsibility to continue to develop the character, but chose not to because it didn't fit his story. It is my opinion that The Last Jedi was made more to serve Rian Johnson, to show people on the largest stage possible how clever he is with his ability to, quote, subvert expectations, end quote, rather than the last.
Hold on. We if you read the whole thing, then we have to like memorize whatever he said. So that's a big statement. You think the whole movie was there for Rian to subvert expectations. Now, I think we have to talk about Star Wars in two kinds of theories on. So let me just since we're all prefacing, Robert Meyer Burnett, who I'm conflicted on sometimes, made a good point yesterday. He said he's been in the movie industry a long time, and the one thing he has learned is that everyone thinks they know how to make a movie. like in the context of the conversation was when AT&T bought Warner Bros. All the AT&T guys came in and started telling them what to do, and they're like, "You don't know anything about making films." Like, no, we know films. We know Batman, Superman. We know what to do. So
we're the phone company, man. We know.
As much of a fan of Star Wars as we are, we can all agree none of us have made a major motion picture. Have never even made an indie film. It very difficult. So
okay, I'm gonna out myself here. I have made a major motion picture. Have you guys ever seen Independence Day?
Yeah, that was you.
That was me.
Welcome to Earth. So I
wrote that.
You wrote EARF, but they changed it.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Anyhow, the only reason why I say it is because there's two thoughts from the fan community on how to make Star Wars. One of them is the story group method, where we're going to have this, they're going to put together a group of people and they're going to conjure up a whole story, and this is going to be planned out like as if a novel was written, like a series of novels like Lord of the Rings, and then they're going to adapt that into a film.
The High Republic.
Which still has no major storyline we could speak of, right? The closest thing we can think of to that is perhaps adapting the events of Heir to the Empire into something.
I'm being nice.
I know, but let's be honest. I'm talking about, that's that thought. The other thought is auteur director, which is what George Lucas did. Auteur director means that the director is king on set. The director has the vision. The director is executing that. Everyone's in service of the director. That's why Ridley Scott directs. Ridley Scott said he could never make a superhero movie or Star Wars movie because he won't let him. But
I met him. I mean, I knew him in film school. He hates Batman, and he says he'd have an alien pop out of his butt.
Yeah, well, he really liked Get Smart though. So go figure. But the
original show or the movie?
The original show. I forgot there was a movie.
Oh yeah, original show's good.
Damn it, you got me on that one. Words +1 words. So Ryan, I think, comes from the auteur side. Wrote the script, directed the script. His own crew, Bam, produced the movie. That's
Bam Margera, I believe.
I wish it were. That would have been hilarious to see the antics.
It's Ram.
Like he's doing ollies into the side of the Falcon during outtakes and shit. Like he's jumping porgs and shit. Yeah. But that I believe the JJ side is more of the story group, not with Lucasfilm, but like a bad robot. Like it's a little bit of a different scenario where it feels to me more like he's got his close group of people and they kind of work it out, and then they sort of like television make it up as you go. If we didn't get the first episode
this way, my friends at Lost are going to think I'm a huge pussy.
And this is just having seen the 3 films and saying, well, does one of these films have something to say, or is the other one having characters do things because they think that'll be popular?
Yeah.
Like that. I don't personally love The Last Jedi. I think it's the best of the 3 sequel films by far, because because it's the one that if I just put that in front of you, you could watch the beginning through the end and get a complete film. The other 2 are like cliffhanger, and then you gotta really kind of know what the third one, you're like, is that Lando's daughter? I don't want to say it just because she's black. Like, is that though? What is going on? I know she's supposed to, but if you didn't know that, if you just watched the film, you're like, what is this movie about? Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't, so it's very complicated. But that's what he's talking about. Is he would prefer something more in the story department, like it's all figured out. And look, that's what the MCU does to an extent. It's not that perfect, but. There.
Let's hear what Del Rio has to say. This is Del Rio's time. This is the Del Rio day.
Okay, yeah, it's your time.
So the subvert expectations. The idea that the balance of the Force was powerful, light, dark side was never something said by Lucas, and I can remember that seemed to be something that Johnson decided on his own how the Force should be viewed. You may also have had TFA editor Mary Jo Markey, who thought The Last Jedi made conscious storytelling decisions that undid the narrative setups in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's quote, "It's very strange to have the second film so consciously undo the storytelling of the first one. I'm sorry that's what it felt like. I don't even feel that's true about the third film. It took it took where the second film ended and just tried to tell a story. I didn't feel like it was consciously trying to undo. It just didn't feel that way to me." I end quote. I also believe he left the director for episode 9 in a very bad position, who would be the villain in episode 9. Snoke was killed in The Last Jedi. General Hux was made to look like a fool. And I don't think he could be
Did you
made...
not see The Force Awakens?
Yeah, it is a fool.
When he gets dragged across the floor.
Yeah. I think he's more of like preferring the scary Hitler Youth over the other side of it. But you had a portion of the audience who just wanted to see him and Rey have Force babies. Episode 8's ending felt like more like an end to the story than setting up a conclusion of the story. I think Star Wars is bigger than any one direct creator, and JJ and Favreau had said numerous times that I don't feel like that is the case with Brian. I think the biggest problem, though, is that it's not a fun film, and I know that is completely subjective, and I think that is the most valid point that you can make for yourself, is that it wasn't fun for you. I don't think the film has any real hope or joy in it. I believe that it's essentially a Star Wars, and I believe that is essential to a Star Wars story. Empire is a dark film, but you have the fun and excitement of the Battle of Hoth and the chase through the asteroid field. There's also humor in the film with the droids Han Solo and Yoda. See, I'm really quickly, I don't want to step on your toes here, but people who don't like The Last Jedi typically are mad about the humor in it, ironically.
This is, again, it's all subjective. This is one person's interpretation, how they saw it. It's very difficult.
The Last Jedi was the first time I left the Star Wars film not excited for more Star Wars. When I left the theater, my reaction was, what the hell was that? And I think knowing at the time that he was getting a trilogy just made it worse, that I felt like we would be getting 3 more dark and depressing films, and that was blah, blah, blah. So you get what he's saying. He was mad that Snoke wasn't Darth Plagueis. Thank you for asking my opinion and taking the time to read all of this. If you made it this far, thank you for the scoops in the show. So, yeah, I mean...
This message will self-destruct in 30 seconds. What?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really just does go to show that it, like, when you really get down to it, it is problematic if you kind of condense what everyone is saying into a general narrative. But in my position, I do end up getting a general narrative of things. And in 2017, the initial kickoff of that general narrative was mostly like, why this pink bitch doing what she do and shit like that. It was like, it was about hold up. Yeah, it was like a lot of that shit. And then you had the people that were just going in on rows. And clearly Del Rio isn't that guy, isn't that type of guy, and just didn't like the movie. And that's completely like valid, like you know what I mean? Like I totally get it. Like in terms of going to see a movie tonight, I'm going to see Ghostbusters. And I'm very excited to see what I am considering to be Ghostbusters 3. But a part of me knows I'm probably going to leave being like, okay, that was a thing.
Ghostbusters, you know what I mean?
No, fuck you, dude. Too hot to handle, too old to hold. Yeah.
Love the song.
Yeah, the song is
even though it's got Trump in it, but they make up for it by cutting right to Christopher Reeve afterward. And I'm like, I see you, editor. I see you. Like, I see what you're doing.
The editor was predicting a series of disasters. Anyways, yeah, I love Ghostbusters 2, man. Ghostbusters 2 has some power.
Seen through the eyes of weird nostalgia, my friend.
Hey, it works. If it works, it works.
If it works, it works. All we have is our opinions, man. We're not like, you got to be very careful, anyone out there, when you're listening to a show, any show, we're not speaking directly to you. Like, I'm not saying you're crazy and you might come after me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, understand that we're not speaking about you personally, unless we're specifically talking to one person. And the problem when you speak to one fan personally on any platform, whether you made something whether you made a video game, a movie, a book, a comic, is then you're not speaking to your audience. You're then just speaking to one person, and
Yeah.
then everyone else kind of gets left out. And it's a very difficult. I was listening to there's a screenwriting like interview YouTube channel. I forget the name, Screen Theory, something like that. And they'd interviewed this Swedish director, really independent guy. I really enjoy his conversations. I got to remember his name because you know me in names, especially with Swedish names. I can't remember. But he said that when he went to a film school, they taught him a really good lesson. And it was like, once you put it out there, don't engage with individual people about any product, because you then exclude anyone out of that outside conversation, and you're just speaking to one person. It doesn't go anywhere. You're just speaking to one person. And we're not speaking to one person, and we're certainly not lumping you in with a group like that is out there actively trying to like erase Star Wars actors from the internet. You know what I mean? Like that is a whole separate group that they were doing it on The Force Awakens. The first frame of that trailer popped up and a black man appeared in a stormtrooper outfit, bro. Like, that ain't you, Del Rio, and that ain't most of our fans. I mean, there are some people watch the show who think that, but they're watching everything because, I don't know, that's what they do.
Well, they're having a culture war. Let them have it.
Yeah, having a culture war. But like, it's just like, if you're gonna say the movie was humorless and dark, I can show you right now that if I ask my friends, do you want a dark Star Wars movie with no humor? Yeah, that's actually what most ultra fans want, a super hardcore dark film. Like, I was told Rogue One was too depressing. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone dies, man, but it has that Vader scene. It's fun, but everyone gets murdered. Why is it fun? It's frightening.
Like in the movie, I mean, I don't really find it to be that way. Like I think it works actually for me anyway. But like when Luke throws the sword behind him, it's funny.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I do. I think it's like you have this moment where you think it's this thing, and then it does subvert expectations. But
all they had to do was look at it and drop it and not care. It's the same kind of little thing Hamill did in Rise of Skywalker when he's lifting the X-Wing and he's got that shit-eating grin. It's the hammy part of Hamill. I'm like, I'm not a big fan of that.
I just watched the movie though, and I feel like it gets remembered being a lot more than it was in the movie,
because people waited an entire year for it. That's why.
Yeah, that's why. But a couple of points I wanted to make was I lived during the prequel fan cultural tension, if you will.
Yeah.
And spent the whole time trying to explain to people what I saw. And people would go, I see, and the reasonable people would end up going, I see how you see it. And that's rad. I just can't see it that way. Or they'd be like, oh, I kind of do see it. And then they might like it more. Like my friend Brandon, he actually started getting on board with it. And he actually kind of like, I kind of am enjoying these movies now. And it was kind of nice. But that was one guy out of hundreds of people, if not thousands of people I had talked to in the course of those years. You really can't change anybody's mind. But I think what it becomes important, and this will never work, but if fans talked about moments that worked and don't work for them instead of a collective generalization in whole, we would probably have more productive conversations. Because like something that really worked for me, like Snoke dying for me, was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
In
I thought
fact,
that was fantastic.
That was where like, oh, I did not see that coming. What is going to happen? Like, I did
best lightsaber fight in a Star Wars movie since the Maul Obi-Wan fight.
I also agree with that too. It is beautifully shot, and when that fucking Praetorian falls into the fan, I love it. But when but where I thought, see, like people also like I also disagree that Ryan didn't set up whoever was making 9 to make a good movie. I think that's completely on the people who signed up to make 9. They knew what they were signing up to make, and nobody signs up to go, hey, you know what? There's nothing to make here now. I'm out. Like that's what they would have said.
You don't take the job. You don't
And
root for the job,
but look at Ryan's, or not Ryan's. Look at Trevorrow's version. What we know of it, and which is a lot. And then look at JJ's version, and then look at where conscious decisions Trevorrow consciously picked up on what Ryan set up for Finn, and it made the Stormtrooper arc very powerful, and let him be in every man, which is what 8 did. 8 said raise the nobody and Finn's and every man, and they matter, and they're going to make a difference. Very powerful, if not very important message, I felt like, to pass on if Star Wars has any cultural responsibility.
Yeah, sort of. He didn't make the decision. He had a new character that Ryan wrote that told him all this, and that's a problem. You're not built. Look, Rose is not Yoda. Like, no. She's a fun character. She's like in the Lando category, not as a traitor or anything, but like that kind of side character. And for Rose to then take all of Finn's agency and give him like, this is because of love and and you're like, I don't fucking know what we're doing here. This dude literally stopped running in the last movie, and then the minute he gets up, he's running again, and it just
your critique is correct, because episode 9 fucked it up. See, with what you're saying is, in the first one, he has that tendency and that problem. In the second one, he is getting ready to go, but then that's where he learns. In the third one, is supposed to be where he implements it, and it is now an actualized
fair enough
character and warrior.
Yeah. And I don't have to agree with the execution, but I can agree with you. The way what you're describing holds true. They just didn't do it
with what I think. Yeah, so that's why I don't. Yeah. That's
Trevorrow
why I don't.
Did that.
Trevorrow did it. Trevorrow picked up on what, and JJ didn't. JJ in the end gave, I feel like the actor a solid, not the character or the audience.
But before I forget, I want to talk about this subversion thing, because I've heard that was a popular topic of conversation when the movie came out. He's subverting expectations, and everyone says subverting expectations. Yeah. And I can see that if all you know of Ryan's work is surface level, what he did on Breaking Bad, in his movies, and you go, yeah, he's subverting expectations. But I would say, having listened to every episode of the Making Breaking Bad podcast with Vince Gilligan and crew, right? I've listened to all of them, including all the Better Call Sauls. We were sitting here a couple months ago, and it dawned on me that perhaps what Ryan was doing was a Vince Gilligan technique. And Vince would talk, anytime they had a season ender, they got to a big episode where they were like, what are you going to do next? Vince, after the resolution came out, he goes, yeah, we had no idea. We literally wrote that episode into a corner. We had no clue. Give you an example, the last season of Breaking Bad, when you see that Rambo gun, in Walter White's trunk, in the first episode, it has a flash forward, and you see it in the trunk. He's like, we had no idea what we were going to do with that gun. We had no clue. We could have just dropped it, but we thought that would be cool. We had to figure it out, stuff like that. And I tend to think that if Ryan learned anything from Vince Gilligan and crew, is write everything you can in that episode that you just don't expect, the twists and turns of like a Breaking Bad episode. And then you're like, well, where are they going to go from there? And then you figure that out. You do the hard work later. You don't drag it across 3 different films, and go, well, I'll just do that later and punt it to the next one and punt it to the next one. Like, he created a film in which everyone said, what do you do next? Yeah. He kind of just ended it. And I'm like, no, he did the thing like you're always saying is, these films they're not complete. They just hang off and make you go to the next one. Well, that's not a subversion. That's a television technique. Like, really, like a very good Breaking Bad Vince Gilligan technique, man. And I sort of feel, if I had to put money on it, that's what was going on there. But if you didn't know that, you could say he's just subverting, because that's the group discussion on the internet. You're hearing that all the time.
Yeah. And I think that what Ryan actually did was, when people say it felt like an ending, Well, or and you've even said he felt like a complete film to you. But what he I think did was he allowed for Kylo Ren to become Anakin Skywalker if he never got put into the suit, but also allowed for the ninth one time to wrap up everything from the previous ones. He gave the room for that. And then,
Well, New Hope feels like a complete film, Jason.
yeah.
It isn't, right? In that it leads Vader's off in space. There's other things, but it's complete.
Yeah.
That is the Brad Bird talked about that when they asked him about if Kathy and them had approached him for episode 7. What would you do? And he's like, well, I wouldn't want the trouble, but I would definitely want to make sure it felt more like A New Hope than Empire because I'd want it to be more complete. Like that feeling, and that's what I see. Whether you agree with the execution or not is fine. I'm just telling you what I see. As what the film is attempting to present itself out, what the film is doing versus what I think the guy was thinking when he made the film. Because I don't fucking know, man. It one can watch the making of documentary, which I have, and think they put a lot of effort in that Cano bite, and that should probably not be where all the effort was.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel that's the bane of many Star Wars films. Look how much effort Lucas put into Jabba's palace, and for me, I'm like, really, probably the Endor with the Wookiees would have been more interesting than the Jabba's palace, which is like the first 20 minutes. We don't even have the big battle in that place.
Yeah.
So,
James says, I like The Last Jedi, but was the broomstick kid, was he supposed to be someone in future TV, or was it just saying there's more Jedi out there? Yeah, well, the thing about it is it's kind of in the title and what Luke says. It's the Last Jedi. And Luke at the end of that movie is like, I will not be the last Jedi. And so then you go, oh, is Rey the last Jedi? No, there is no last Jedi. Star Wars is bigger than all of that. And so is the concept of the Force and good versus evil. The fight will go on forever. So Broom Boy simply, in my opinion, represents the fact that if there's always some Luke Skywalker, some Harry Potter living in our imaginations under his aunt and uncle's staircase, who's going to
some Anakin Skywalker. Can we just talk about that? Because if you want to say it's conflicting, because when Del Rio says Star Wars bigger than any one creator, then you better throw George Lucas in that conversation. So Star Wars is bigger than, because oh no, but not him. But okay, well, that creator gave us an 8-year-old fucking super Force genius.
Yeah.
Well, he was made of the Force. How do we know that kid wasn't made from the Force? You don't know. I mean, all I got to do with this pen in episode 9 or 10 is write Broom Kid, it was made from the Force. That is the reality of production, Jason, that, I've always appreciated from you on this show, where, you can look, as much as we can fan theorize, at the end of the day, when they hire someone, homegirl or homeboy fucking writes down some shit, that's what Star Wars is now. Until the next person comes in and writes it.
But I feel like that moment and Broom Boy also tie back into what Luke does. And what Luke ends up doing is he was a nobody who they make as somebody in multiple levels, which I think is still kind of crappy in the bigger narrative, because they did what they did to Rey, especially with her being a Palpatine. That said, is that the good deeds that we do, they echo on and inspire other people to do good deeds and that is what is sort of important in that moment. And what Trevorrow did pick up. Trevorrow had at the end, we see that Broom Boy is now part of the thing with that Cade. What was his name? Was it Cade?
He's
something
running
like
around,
that.
something like that.
There was some other kid who was basically the same exact thing. And
hold on. I agree with you. I would phrase it more like, in The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker is a myth. He's real? Oh, he's real? I thought he was a myth. And by the end of The Last Jedi, he gives the universe the legend of Luke Skywalker that they always wanted, even though he didn't actually do that, right? He gave them he gave them the legend the universe needed to pick its fucking self off its own feet and help itself, because up to that point they were unwilling to fucking do it.
Right.
So he had to give them that Luke Skywalker sacrifices himself to stop the First Order and did that amazing thing that, even then he goes, yeah, that's a trick, right? And not a trick in a necessary sense. It's in an unmeaningful way. it's a trick in that, like, it's such a Eastern thing to do. Like, you think you have it, but it's still an illusion. The legend you believe in is still an illusion, in the way that the great Jedi Knight Order of the Old Republic, that myth was an illusion, right? It wasn't this great Jedi Order that did everything right, and there was just one bad guy showed up and and tricked him, and that was, one second,
Yeah,
and that was it. That was also an illusion. You know,
what James says, he's like, do you think it matters that it seems Lucas isn't a fan of the sequels? And does it matter? I don't know.
It would be nice if he was. It would be nice, right?
It would be nice if he was. Yeah.
I mean, it would be a bummer if Stan Lee saw the Avengers like, fuck this shit, white sabers. Like it would be a bummer.
Would be a bummer. And by the same measure, if Lucas had sold Star Wars in 1996 and Disney made the prequels and they were beloved films that everybody loved and said were the best movies ever, George Lucas would not have liked them, because they would not have been Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith that he was going
Alan
to make.
Moore didn't care for V for Vendetta or Watchmen, you know.
Yeah.
I like both films. It happens, you know.
And
the real shame of the sequel trilogy, man, when you take the story they've given us, even The Last Jedi, is you see Luke had a Jedi Order once with Ben and all that stuff, and it didn't work out, and we still don't really know what happened. It's like the Clone Wars existing off screen in the prequels. It's like kind of, or in Bloodlines, the whole universe finding out Vader is Leia's father, and there's giant consequences for that, but we don't get that in the movies. Yeah, you know, like we don't even get the real after effects of it. You don't really get it. Like you can infer it if you want to see that. It's not really there. In the way that if you read Catalyst and then saw Rogue One, they actually link. You can see those flashback scenes are the scenes from Catalyst. Like it was interesting how whatever magical tricks they did to make that happen in reshoots, they certainly did it. But that is the real shame of it, is the thing we wanted to see, Luke with the Jedi Order thing happened. It just happened off screen in some other story, and it's just a shame. Like, I'm not saying it had to succeed; it could have failed, but
agreed. Yeah, Meg says, watch how the Mandalorian and its spin-offs will explain Luke's decline to where we see him at the end of TFA. It will make sense eventually. I hope. And
it's the Clone Wars cartoon. It's what we've talked about. They're gonna have to do that one way or the other.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what you said about the Clone Wars, and I was like, we get the first battle of the Clone Wars and we get the last battle. Right. Most of it, it's like a good sandwich, and you're only getting a bite of crust at the first part.
We almost got we almost got like a glimpse of like a commercial of the burger at the beginning of episode 3, but Lucas even cut that out for some friggin' reason, much to John Knoll's dismay.
I actually do love the opening of that movie. I think it was the right choice, but I would not have minded having seen more of it going on sideways once we got after that opening. Like, I think that would have been.
I have a friend who worked on it. I haven't bugged him.
Yeah,
he was pretty high up in an ILM, and I'm like, I want to bug him one day for an interview, you know, but I don't want to be like, put him on the spot, tell us what got cut. I'm just really interested in the.
Ask that person, not even you're off the record, but can you tell me what's up, and then you can tell us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, I want to bring it. I'll have to coordinate with you on it, but
yeah.
But I'm just saying that, like, this is nothing new to start. I mean, is subverting, if you wanted to say subversion, well, I mean, midichlorians is a subversion, right? Hey, Luke being told by Obi-Wan that Vader killed Luke's father, and then that not happening is a subversion. Like
yeah, but the sister is a subversion.
Yeah, and I totally disagree with that take, but that's Star Wars.
Falling in love with his son, not in a romantic way, obviously, you weirdos, but falling in love with his son and the idea of his family again and throwing the Emperor down the drain, subversion. I mean, I think it's important. I think those are important elements.
Returning as a Force ghost, 30 years younger for some fucker.
I mean,
subversion.
No, hey.
It's all subversive.
Hey, what would have been better? if he had shown up standing on one peg leg with a
Yes.
purple head and with no dick,
Yes.
burned with no eyebrows.
I'm always going to answer yes.
If I'm a ghost, when I'm a ghost and I show up to you after I die and I show up to you, I'm not going to look like this. I'm going to be hating.
Owen and Bruce show up as floating bones. Whoa! The Ewoks can smell it.
Yoda's all like, Yoda's like a deflated puppet. But anyway,
he's just Frank Oz's hand. Like,
to go with to get on what Meg's talking about. I think that it really does tie into what we see with like Yoda in the Clone Wars to some extent. Yoda at the end of the prequels and in the Clone Wars cartoon, his character arc is sort of solidified and wrapped up in a nice way where he has to deal with the fact that the hubris of Yoda is what allowed most of this shit to happen, and the hubris of the Jedi themselves. And like Luke has a lot of reason and earned hubris, like straight up earned reason to think that he is the Christ figure savior of the galaxy because he fucking was. Like, and so when he ends up having that vision that little Adam Driver is the next space Hitler, he wanted to choke him out when he was sleeping. And I think that's very human in my opinion. And it just goes to show that as long as you're human, you could be knocked off that fucking pedestal in a moment with one dumb mistake, like trying to kill space Hitler. And so I think it makes a lot of sense.
Except that you need to be with the character on that journey to make that logical decision with them. We're told this. We see it, but it's being told, I did this and I did that. You didn't go with him on a journey to experience and then have him think or act in a way that you then project yourself into thinking or acting that way and going, oh. But it's not an experience that you're sharing with Luke. You're just being told these things. But
neither was Anakin's story, and we didn't have the.
And that's a critical part of the prequels is that you're just being
shallow, to be honest.
But it shouldn't. That's again. This gets into what should be. Rob, tell us how to make a movie. I know how to make a movie. I know how to write at least a semi-decent story, and I gotta say, if there's anything Star Wars has to do, is it has to get out of that mold of just being shallow, because people expect more now. They expect more. It can't be called the greatest IP ever, the greatest film trilogy ever, and then be like, yeah, but we're gonna make MCU phase 1 decisions forever. Like, you can't do that. Like, it needs to.
I mostly agree with you. Where I agree with you in terms of modern Star Wars film, but semi disagree in the sense that these three trilogies are supposed to be connected, and they all do it.
Sure.
I mean, who the fuck was who made the clones? Who was that guy? Like, they throw this backstory in, and a lot of the times it's like gobbledygook stuff just to get motivation to do what's fun. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like they just kind of like push it to make that stuff happen, and then we end up putting a lot of emotional gravitas onto it as we consume it over and over and take all this extraneous materials in at the same time. And
I think we can agree, that perhaps JJ and them did not figure out who their protagonist really was in that first film, because you start off with Finn and then you latch on to Rey, and then Poe shows back up at the end and you don't know, and it's flipping around, and you have a lot of characters where he's like, what's a group ensemble piece like Luke, Han, Leia? No, Luke was the protagonist. That's it.
That bit of subversion led to a ton of problems in the sequel trilogy.
Same with the prequel trilogy. Like really, Amidala should have kind of been the lead.
Should have stayed
in that thing
as the lead.
Because the reason why is because we know Anakin's going to go bad, and if you're not going to get into a giant like mind delve into the mind of Anakin and how I'm being manipulated, which honestly is not high adventure, it's really quite psychological, which Lucas is not the best at. Then what you need to do is track a girl who falls in love with the dude who's fucking super good, but then becomes super abusive and fucking ruins everything. And then how do you take agency and fight back against an abusive fucking family member? You know what I mean? How do you protect your children and your family? Like there's a real story there that then lets you see Leia in a different light, lets you see Luke in a different light, and especially when you see Luke dressing in a way that might mirror his father in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, choking people, like, oh shit, you know?
Yeah. No, I cannot in any way refute any argument where Lucas dropped the emotional ball in the prequel trilogy overall. Like I do feel like there's a lot of emotional moments, and it does work in its own weird way. There's a certain like language to it, and I love it. If I could only have one Star Wars trilogy, I would keep the prequel trilogy. It's weird.
That is a weird statement,
but it's true.
I mean? Understand why though. Like, I understand why it has the scale that you would have maybe wanted in the 80s. It has a ton of shit going on. It has some real memorable moments. You know, it has a lot of big themes, and quite frankly, the fall of an entire republic is something we're kind of living through. So, you know, you can see this.
Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I hope not, but yeah.
Nothing happens overnight. It's like the Roman Empire. Like it's a frog boiling in a pot for, however many years. The
apt analogy on that one. Everybody wants to talk about the comic thing now because it's starting to come in here.
All right. So I just want Del Rio to know that I'm not fucking talking shit about you or any of our fans here. If I talk shit about anybody, it's people that harass fans, actors, and that's what we're talking about. All right, we're not talking about you. Like,
I want to let Del Rio know that you are wrong. My opinion is right.
And you see what I have to work with here?
If you ever try to share your opinion again, I'm gonna be fucking sorry, buddy.
Me and Randy are going to the Earl of Sandwich. Fuck this shit.
Dark Horse Comics returns to the Star Wars galaxy. New comics and graphic novels. This is from StarWars.com. So new comics, don't care, and graphic novels. Now I'm interested. From Storied Publisher will debut in the spring of 2022. Dark Horse Comics is heading back to a galaxy far, far away in 2022. The Storied Publisher, which has worked with Lucasfilm on a variety of titles from Dark Empire in 1991 to the Art of Star Wars Rebels in 2020, has announced a new line of all-ages comics and graphic novels expanding the Star Wars galaxy like never before. So,
for IDW, which can I pour one out for IDW? Like at least the Star Wars adventure books. It doesn't say that because they're not talking shit, but I guarantee you they're the ones that do these all ages books for Star Wars. They have at least brought excellent cartooning.
Explain to me
Star Wars.
Explain to me what all ages means.
All ages means it's geared towards kids.
Okay.
When they say all ages, they mean these will be lighthearted, fun, cartoony adventures
for children and people with post-traumatic stress who do not want anything heavy.
Yeah, there's not going to be people cut in half and Vader like mauling down all the younglings on camera.
So it'll be like, oh, I'm a 13-year-old Jedi. What? I'm bleeding down there. What does this mean?
Oh, no.
Like that? Like that? Is that what it means, Rob? Is it like Beverly Cleary?
Wow, Jason. You know what? I never cease to surprise. I never would have gone there, but excellent. I really enjoyed.
I want that.
Look, with the Star Wars adventure books, I couldn't tell you one storyline. I don't think the writing was anything memorable. Wasn't bad, just let's say not memorable. A lot of great artists. Dark Horse hasn't really, other than Star Wars Underworld, the Yavin Vasilica by Carlos Maglia, and the Star Wars manga reprints. Dark Horse hasn't really been known for cartooning. Right? They mostly done the older age group style of art. So I'm very curious to see if they will be utilizing American talent or doing that importing of the Italian group that did like all the trilogy in the movie adaptations. You know what I'm talking about?
Everything's like Naboo and Olive Garden themed. Like, unlimited breadsticks and soup for lunch.
Yeah, I think you're mocking me. Yeah, yeah. I think I
Joel,
caught that.
Joel always cracks me up. Joel says, "Jason, it's not a period piece."
Oh, that's hilarious. Joel wins the no prize for today's episode.
Yeah, I think Joel won yesterday too. But some of that episode from yesterday did come back. They just took out the part that we weren't allowed to show.
Right.
So
And just for the record,
we'll
I
just
had
we'll
no
just
idea we were going to be stuck watching that. Had I known
me
at
either.
least a day in advance, I could have prepared myself mentally for that. I was literally, this is, if you want to know what it was like for my teacher to trap me in a room and make me watch Eraserhead again, that's very close.
I love Eraserhead. It's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Also, Lady in the Radiator, great Pixies cover, by the way.
But I know IDW's had financial problems for a while. I worked for IDW, and and through some tumultuous periods for them. So, bummer for the talent that's there. That's probably going to lose their gigs. I'm hoping Dark Horse keeps, brings on the people who've been doing a great job,
right,
and finds even better talent to move forward. So mixed bag for me. Happy, sad.
In terms of like, I mean, I'm not big into comics, but like I look at it and just knowing what I do know, and I'm like, well, bad for a little guy, good for another little guy. So I guess
you want to know what I hope? Just thought of it. I really hope they could get a hold of Otis Frampton and do the Jawa Adventures. Yeah. He's got 100 covers sitting on Instagram right now, waiting to be fleshed out.
Right?
Give us the Jawa Adventures, Dark Horse. Do it.
I feel like it's up to us to bring the Lucasfilm Civil War to the fans. But anyway,
always a teaser.
I remember, Allison says, I remember being given that Beverly Cleary book as a preteen. Yeah, I remember reading one of them, or being read one of them in 4th grade by a teacher, and this kid is buying binoculars to watch girls undress. Like, that was okay. it was like
Lorraine, we got one of these damn kids in the tree again.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, so when it comes to like that comic book stuff, like I don't know if I actually care. I guess I really don't care until I do, until they give me a reason to care. And I haven't really just been that excited by any of it. The quote adult comics, I don't know if we're gonna I don't even know why the comics that Marvel makes don't really feel like they're very grown up either. So it's kind of weird to me. Well, I guess one just has a cuter style than the other. One traces people, which that's fine, I guess.
If artistically, if I had to pick between what IDW's done and what Marvel's done, I'll go with IDW any day of the week. But
a lot of the time, I probably agree with you. But I definitely am interested to see what they do in terms of graphic novels. Like, remember right before Dark Horse lost the license the last time, or the only time they lost it, they had done a graphic novel about the Ewoks that made an entire like story about how the Ewoks viewed everything, and it almost like linked up the Ewok cartoons with Return of the Jedi.
It was clever.
And it had like Ewoks interpreting stormtroopers as the dead having risen as giant skeletons that were coming back. It was awesome.
Yeah, like that's the kind of, that's a writing thing. That's the kind of thing I'm excited for with Dark Horse. I also hope they ask Oliver Vatine to come back and do some more Star Wars art, because his first half of Heir to the Empire is still my favorite drawn Star Wars comic. Probably it's probably my favorite. That and the manga, the first manga volume. But yeah, his ability to capture actors' likenesses and still retain cartooning and that really strong shape design. It's somewhere between like a more detailed Mignola, but not like all. It's so good. If you haven't seen the first half of the Heir to the Empire comic, Oliver Vatine is fantastic.
I'm rich. Thank you for the super chat, Griffin. Griffin says, have you heard anything about the antagonist of the Acolyte? Hoping if they pull Darth Plagueis in that they do their research. So the only thing that we actually know, because like production isn't really moving, everything is internal and in-house, is that casting bits have gone out for I believe it's stated woman of color. And when they do those casting bits, by the way, they do several of them, and I have
Ray
seen
Saloni?
several of them. Well, no, what they'll like do one, and they will ask for a young black woman, 20 to 24, in terms of physical appearance.
With long white hair, willing to sing erotically to Imperial stormtroopers.
But I've seen those calls for that character, and I've seen that with the same description for Latina character, same thing for an Asian woman, all English accents, like all that kind of stuff. So
Is this a Manhattan Beach project?
No, it's not supposed to be. It was supposed to be over at Pinewood, and that's what is also interesting about some of the stuff. Because I'm not there. There's been rumors that Acolyte is going to be here now instead of over there, but I don't know if that's true. And like I don't know if they're keeping Pinewood in the big picture. I know that there's like all this stuff about them like looking at these other spaces.
Lucasfilm bought it, and now it's called Thrawnwood.
Yeah. Yeah, but there are others. I won't go into any specifics or anything like that, but there's like other spaces that they're like looking for over there. So I honestly right now I'm like kind of like what's going on over there, because like it's a lot though.
It'd be nice to get a logo at least for Disney Plus Day.
Well, they'll give us a logo,
man.
They're not going to make.
A logo, right? So who's gonna make them? We don't have the Marvel budgets. We're Star Wars. Like, okay,
yeah, but we are looking at a female anti-hero character, is from what I understand.
Does she rebel?
She is an acolyte.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not, and once again, this is like speculation based off of things that I've talked to people I talked to. I'm getting the impression that Acolyte is entirely about what happened with the Sith and what was going on, and then what sets up the machinations for what Palpatine ends up doing. Like, how did they
female Sith, Jason, are called acolytes. Male Sith are called insolites. So.
Insolites. Yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds right. And Anakin was
now.
Anakin was really good looking, but he was one step away from talking about Obi-Wan's jaw to Padme like 3 or 4 times. What with Bradawan Kenobi? Is that what they call him? Brads?
Chadawan
Kenobi.
Jedi Lord Andy over here,
Look, listen, I'm the chosen one, but I have a weak jaw, all right?
If they really love him, they're Andy Lights. There you go. Andy Lights.
Yeah. Padme's middle name is Stacy. You didn't know that.
And when I get replaced on the show, I'll get replaced with the Randy Light.
I do think that we will end up probably seeing stuff from that being pushed hard at Celebration this year.
Is it this year?
I think I think it's in 2022. I mean, within the year.
They put up the schedule for that D23 that's happening next week. And my God, is that horrible.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be happening. They had to move it to Florida because it's the only place dumb enough to let people die for Disney.
It's all retrospectives on the park and like 2 hours or an hour or two on the Galactic Cruise Starship none of us can afford. And there you go.
Yeah. Oh, I saw some stuff about the costumes, and I looked at it and I was like, fuck, I don't care. Who gives a shit? Griffin said Russian Doll is a great show. It really is. Surprisingly, when I went to watch that, Leslie Headland hadn't come on yet for Star Wars. Put it on, wasn't expecting much, and was like, whoa, this is like a fucked up version of Groundhog Day, and I like it. you know?
Yeah, but Griffin, when he goes looking at our other writing credits, I got a bad feeling about this. Like, dude, man, you don't know what gets changed in production or just what didn't work, what wasn't possible to work out. Like Marcus and McFeely didn't do anything great before Civil War, you know, and all the stuff they did at Marvel. I mean, a lot of people have had things that, I mean, no offense, Jonathan Hales. I mean,
well, no, let the best example is Irvin Kershner.
There you go, Irvin Kershner. What did he do before Empire?
Like, what do you really love before and after Empire?
And after, right?
Yeah, I mean, RoboCop 2. You know, I like it. It's no Ghostbusters 2, though. I'll say that much.
Only because Ghostbusters 2 has a Bill Murray. But look, having Bill Murray not be the father of a kid, whether they got together or not, is bullshit. Breaking them up for the sequel and having them get back together is bullshit. That's Jewel of the Nile territory, bro. I'm telling you, it's bad.
That was Jewel of the Nile era, though, buddy. That's when they were.
And it was a bad call then. But Bill Murray being on a paranormal show that he's like hawking a coast to coast AM type thing and fucking doesn't believe any of it is fantastic. Even after all he went through, he'd be like, yeah, it's all bullshit. Fuck it.
Yeah, I honestly wish that there was more of him having to go
Louis Tully as a Ghostbuster. No.
Oh, loved it as a kid. I loved it. I was like, it's finally
as
happened.
A kid. No.
And remember the Ghostbusters music video when they do the Ghostbusters dance, and then they made that the opening credits of the cartoon. They didn't do that.
The cartoon's great.
Yeah, it did try to do that whole thing of keeping it real. And you know, my where I think that honestly this new one is gonna fail or gonna suck is it's just not gonna have the fucking rock and roll-ness to it. Like the original 2 films, they have a pop. I don't know if rock and roll is a way to put it, but there's a certain rock and roll attitude in it, music and shit like that, and like pop and fun. And I feel like this one's going to be like try to be the Force Awakens of Ghostbusters, and I'm not sure if Ghostbusters fits in that paradigm right. But
no, it's more of the Goonies of Ghostbusters, and Mark Bernardin said it probably should have been more of the Lost Boys, which I'm like, that's a sequel.
Goonies the Goonies aren't good enough, which is rock and roll.
Star Wars in Game says hopefully she isn't writing and her writers work with the story group and hash out a great story for us. She needs the chance to do her best, and everyone deserves that. That's true. Again, no offense to everyone complaining about writing credits, but Star Wars hired Lord and Miller to make a whole film and fucking scrap them. Now, no offense, I haven't seen one film Lord Miller done where I've been like, that's bullshit. And they got rid of great talent, so like we're in like whatever territory with Star Wars. You know, we live in a Star Wars where Bryce Dallas Howard got an episode of Mando for nothing other than she's someone's daughter, and then showed she really fucking knew what she was doing. She learned a whole lot by the second time she got to do it, you know. And now she gets a Flight of the Navigator movie. I don't know about all that, but to each that you don't know, man. I mean, what if someone? We're just. I mean, if talent alone, if previous credits were enough to guarantee success, Ridley Scott wouldn't be out there making fucking 2 shitty alien films.
Hey, Prometheus is good.
I like Prometheus. It's not a good movie. It's a visually interesting film with nifty concepts that blows the fucking. It's a Jason movie, bro. I've told you this before. The first Alien, he said, was House on a Haunted Hill, and I'm telling you, Prometheus is a slasher '80s Jason film.
I thought you meant Jason. Yeah, it is a Jason movie too.
Yeah, where they're not scientists, pretend they're camp counselors, right? And I mean, and the little fucking thing out there killing everyone is Jason, all of it makes sense.
Well, the sequel, the Prometheus Part 2, whatever they called it,
Alien Covenant.
Yeah, that thing was fucking awful. Like I completely hated that one, and I love Danny McBride. I love him, and it was just not a good movie.
So what are we supposed to do here, folks? You know, like if it just nothing adds up. You know, 2 + 2 equals clowny clown. You know, I mean, as I get older, I'm maybe that's, you know, in a way, wisdom in a way where, you know, they say the more you know, the less certain you are of anything. like I'm at a point where, like, I don't fucking know, man. They could have, as far as they might have the best. You said what was it? Obi-Wan was the best movie script they had produced, is what you had heard, right?
That was the opinion of someone I know who knows.
What if that turns into a way too drawn out 4 hour long series?
Yeah.
And it actually worked really good. Could you imagine? Think about how like tightly written or put together American Graffiti is. You imagine stretching that out 4 hours across 4 hour long episodes of film,
Yeah.
maybe you or of TV show, maybe you don't like it as much. We don't know,
Yeah.
like there's no guarantee.
Well, that's somebody or more than one person actually has written me and said something along the lines of, why is TV working and film don't work? And I think if there's contention about story ideas, I think in a series the creators could eventually go where they want to go. They can steer things there, start there or end there, and there's more room for compromise in that. But I also think that we've only really had one television series, and it's been Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who were already in that system for years. Was doing voices for Lucasfilm during the Clone Wars era, and was completely in that culture. And Filoni has been the head of their animation thing forever.
Favreau already made Disney $1 billion. Let's not It wasn't Favreau coming off Zathura that made Mandalorian. It was Favreau coming off Jungle Book that made Mandalorian and was knee deep into Lion King. Like he'd already made them. It's not Cowboys versus Aliens Favreau, you know? Yeah, but he had that falling out after Iron Man 2 with the MCU. But, it's always the last thing you did with Hollywood. So he had just made him $1 billion. So, there you go. More risk to be taken by Lucasfilm. They took a risk. It's called The Last Jedi. And they took an even bigger risk in not rehiring Rian Johnson like they apparently were planning to do, and bringing JJ back in to get the whole thing done in half the time he did The Force Awakens. That's another risk too. They take risks. It's just internally, Lucasfilm feels there's a vibe Star Wars has, and that's probably true. The problem is that vibe is being rooted in the OT over and over and over. So I go back to the recent book, the making of the Marvel Cinematic Universe book, when they're talking about the fight that the writers had with Civil War and the New York Story Group at Marvel, and that the New York Story Group wanted Civil War to be Iron Man and Cap team up at the end of the film, and they fight all these super soldiers and that all those super soldiers in the tank, right? With Baron Zemo leading them. And the writers were like, no, this needs to be about Cap versus Iron Man, and and this can't be resolved here. It needs to not be resolved. And that was seen as no. But they told Alan Horn, they said, hey man, if you feed everyone chocolate cake every day, by the 6th day they're gonna fucking murder you. Yeah. So it's like the OT over and over again it's one too much now. Like it needs to like chill a bit with that.
What Griffin's saying here is I completely agree with, and it's been kind of confusing to me. I almost feel like Plagueis has been put in the back pocket, like what was the joke? Break glass in case of emergency. Griffin says, I'm a Darth Plagueis stan. The novel is phenomenal. So I fear that if they pull that character in, they'll make a bunch of changes. That character trained Darth Sidious, so the timeline adds up. And like that's kind of where I think we could either be right at that or right before it.
But Lucasfilm, the culture, we have to all remember, these get done within a culture at a studio. And as I understand it, Lucasfilm has been notorious to never quite define anything. They kind of go there and then they go, maybe I want to define it.
Yeah.
And so I hope that isn't the case. I had hoped Darth Plagueis would have been Snoke. Snoke would have been Darth Plagueis. Like the old shit comes back to haunt the sins of the past or whatever, But that didn't happen. So I'm hoping you're right.
I think you bring up a good point in the sense of what is their style and what hasn't been. And the style hasn't been so far. Let's follow Palpatine around and see what he's been doing. And how did he become this in episode 9? The style has been, let Snoke and Palpatine and those guys show up and add wonderment and bewilderment about what they're up to, and then hopefully
bewilderment is an excellent
bewilderment
term.
is the way I feel about all of it. But and so on one hand, I feel like when Plagueis does show up, I feel like he'll be in the periphery. He'll be like out there and pulling strings, and we'll see him sometimes, but I don't think we'll get a big focus on him. At the same time, the idea that Lucino and Lucas concocted for the character in the novel is he's not necessarily like the kind of Sith Lord where he's just like, I mean, he's doing fucked up shit, like he's killing people and resurrecting them and bringing them back to life and killing them again and seeing what happens when he does it over and over until they like lose their minds, and he's like doing like almost like sort of like almost like an alchemist. And he is evil, there's no doubt about it, but he's also not like Darth Sidious, here I go. Like he's not necessarily doesn't necessarily have that vibe to him. He's a little smarter than that in a lot of ways, and a survivor. And I'm curious to see where they end up taking that aspect of all of this, because we're going to end up with this anti-hero within the Acolyte. They have to do something that is kind of amazing. They also have to have some sort of like, I would think they can't just be like, evil wins, we did it, we planted the seed. They sort of lose because we know it doesn't.
That's the timeline I'm living in right now.
Yeah, right. It doesn't. I mean, but what I'm trying to go with it is like, I do wonder how successful it can be or will be with general audiences, in the sense that they're bad guys. What the win is going to be keeping evil at bay long enough that there's like another 200 years of general prosperity while the Republic slowly crumbles. So it's like the bad guys win and the good guys win in that era when you get down to it, whatever it amounts to, right? And that kind of
real hope for me is that you go on a journey and get to actually decide what decisions does one make to do all the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
How do they, we just don't. Lucas had, before the prequels came out, he was like, before we saw what the Jedi were when they were old, but here we're going to see how you really learn to be a Jedi. And then we get to the prequels, and it's like, it's not really about learning to be a Jedi. It's really about losing your mom. And you're like, fucking. So, like, why don't we learn what it's like to actually become a Sith? Like, what does that, since we didn't get to see Anakin do it, like, what it just kind of happened, why don't we actually learn what that was? I mean, the room for improvement, the great thing about the prequel trilogy is that you can always improve upon it. Like, there's so much room. You have great visual design. There's so much room to tell more in-depth stories. And with the series, you have the time to do it. That's the promise. The premise of the promise for me with that is that that's the hope that they'll do. If it's just, I'm evil now. Now and it's a bunch of Jedi being worried. How are we gonna do it? Like, how are we gonna stop them? And then at the very end, we stopped them. Oh, we put the sarcophagus back down. Like,
yeah.
Then it's like, I hope it isn't.
Like, I don't think they should do this for the Disney Plus Loki audience necessarily. But if they were making it for me, like, what I would want is where you start to see Plagueis having this ultimate plan of, I'm going to bring corruption. And since it's a series, like if it's an ongoing series, where you start to see about how they go and they hit these targets and corrupt the Techno Union.
Star Wars is woke. It's woking.
Well, I mean, it's just going to be them just turning these certain things and corrupting them and planting those seeds. And then you could also have the opposite friction, where you have the spirit of democracy, where people are rejecting it and doing the right thing, and you could tell those stories in that context. Like, that's what I would like to see. Something tells me that they won't touch politics overtly in it, but we'll have to see what they're able to do.
Let's just never do anything of any meaning. You know what? Yeah. It's all about spaceships now. That's what's really important.
It's all about spaceships. Yeah.
That's it's very important to Hasbro and HasLabs.
HasLabs. Justin says, speaking of the Obi-Wan movie, do you have any inclination how much the script morphed over time to the point of it becoming a television show? like I said, at the no, it's
Take a bigger
actually
pizza pie and stretch in the sky.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's
Like
Obi. Sorry.
no, that's
I'm
why
being a dick.
no, that's why I think it's essentially 6 episodes, is because they didn't actually have to do too much to it. Like, we're gonna, in a weird way, I think, be seeing almost like the filmed work print polished up. Because like when they film a movie, if it's just a straight up movie, it could be about 4 hours long, and then they edit it down. But they're not going to make it like boring and drawn out with just like shots of Obi-Wan going, like it's a Green Knight production. But I have a
he yells out, Tia!
A24's Obi-Wan Kenobi. We just kind of let him.
He gets high on moisture evaporator juice and just dreams about sandworms. And
we just see him like raking sand for 5 minutes within a shot. But I love
he's combing the desert.
He's combing the desert. Mel Brooks directed an episode. But no, but anyway,
that would be great if Mel Brooks directed an episode.
My inclination is my assumption is that things like moments with the Inquisitors and Darth Vader are the moments that would have been very brief in the film, in the name of implying and getting on with the film itself. And I think that we're maybe going to have a little bit more time to explore and let those things breathe. And so from what I understand, all 3 acts of the film became 2 episodes, 6 scripts, two act 1, 2 episodes, act 2, 2 episodes, act 3, 2 episodes. And that's sort of where it ended up going. I know that there was the original writer, which was, I believe it was the what's his name from Skins, which is a great series, by the way. People shit on it, but I think that's some of the best performances from young actors I've seen in a long since then, probably, anyways. And that was because of those scripts and the talent. But no, I don't like the American Skins, by the way. It's shit. But anyways,
their skin in general.
Their fucking skin.
It all looks like acid washed.
Yeah, up front, just as a refresher, Star Wars in game. In the Children of the Jedi novels, you learn that there's an Organa named Tia Organa, and there's
a brother
named Tia in the IMDb listing, which may or may not be real. Therefore, it could be Tia being reworked from the expanded universe in this context, but maybe not. Just food for thought. Anyways, so then it goes on to another writer, and then it ends up with the third writer, the third writer is the dude from that King Arthur movie with Hayden Christensen, and which people are very hard on. I know a lot of people who have seen it and said, basically, laymen love that King Arthur movie. They're like, that's cool. I liked it.
Never saw it.
Yeah, but then you talk to like somebody who like does a film podcast, and they will crap all over it. And I think Star Wars falls into a sweet spot somewhere in there in the middle. But I also don't think that you could really give too much credit to one writer on this piece at this point, as the sole person who did it all. And
if there was, we'd be hearing from him by now.
Yeah,
we're getting the director and we're getting Obi-Wan talking.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting, to say the least. I have a feeling though that Kenobi is going to ultimately work, and I think it's going to amount to a great supplemental material to Revenge of the Sith that also ends up launching a lot of side stuff by showing us Inquisitors and that aspect of things. And by the way,
will it be better than the Xbox game Obi-Wan?
Nothing is.
Damn it.
I don't know. Do I want to bother? Do I have it on my phone still? I don't really want to redo it. But the artist who did the piece of concept art that we saw, when they put it in the documentary, it was flipped. And when you flip it the other way, it looks. I mean, you do see other houses there, which doesn't make sense for the Lars homestead, but it does look more like the Lars homestead when you flip it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, look, as much as artists are like, when you're making your art, you flip it back and forth so it always works. It always works in the layout you intended it to be seen in. Like, so if they wanted to misdirect, flipping it would be the way to do it. Because when they flip it, I see the ship smiling. Like,
Yeah,
like it's like, ah! But when you go the other way, then you see the background more. Like it's crazy how that, because that's the way it was created. Yeah, it's how it was designed to be read. Honestly.
Yeah, and in the follow-up shot after they show it, they literally show the Lars homestead. So it's like, what are you guys? Is it misdirection? It's very confusing.
Lars is like, get that fucking wizard away from my boy. He's touching him.
Yeah,
supposed to show him his lightsaber.
I think they should have explored it. Luke might have had fun. All right.
Ben talking to my nephew too much. Like, huh?
I don't
Didn't
know
expect
if
them to go there.
All right.
No, we're not watching a video again, are we? We're gonna get booted.
Wait, hold on. I don't have the sound on, and it's a video. It's of the video game. So I
just don't play the video. You can like tap the arrows to move or something, right? Like,
I don't know, but it basically shows off some of the characters from Star Wars Hunters, and like I am mildly interested in this. Like a part of me, it's mostly I think trying to fill in the gap maybe that Fortnite can't be on iOS right now.
But again, it's also doing that while trying to take. When I say take itself seriously, I'm not talking about the art style, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's a blaster that would have worked with that type. It's a Ugnaught and a Droideka that would have worked with that scenario. What I'm saying is, if it's like a blaster or a lightsaber, and it were like Fortnite, then you could have like a little Yoda backpack. You could have like a lightsaber with like a 3PO end that you could buy the different ends. And this is or when you swing it, it makes a noise or it says something, or I don't know. Like, it's still trying to also be serious in a way. And part of Fortnite is the absurdity of running around as a xenomorph with Superman's cape on your back.
Yeah,
you know, like it's the lack of fun again that I'm like.
And it's a metaverse that doesn't take itself seriously, and
I think every multiplayer game like this should not be taking itself too seriously. It should be
Dark Side Delinquent. Don't look at me. Don't even think about me. Unless you want to end up on the wrong end of my saber.
Kids aren't going to play it, bro. Their dads are going to get their kids to play it.
Probably. Yeah.
This is what happens when you give the Black Line series of figures its own video game. You know?
The Black series?
Yeah.
The Black Line.
Oh, you know what I mean? Fucking canceling me over assholes.
I'm tired of your
It's not what I'm saying.
I'm tired of your racism on this show. I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, I don't really love any of this, honestly. It's a little bit. I would almost rather they have
the
made
Ugnaught with the Droideka. That is a fun name. It's like Toby 1, right? Toby 1 Jedi. But it's like, again, it's serious clothes. Like, it'd be great if you could also wear like, oh, look, you can make him bad, and you could have a little Darth Vader thing, and he's got like, you can flip the cape out, make it, I don't know, put something more fun. This is them trying to be fun. This is Lucas like licensing. Go, no, we're being fun. Look, it's fun.
This game right now isn't out yet, so we're hoping it gets better. You know,
I have no idea how. When you're playing it, you might be, this is fun. What are you talking about, Rob? I played it. I'm like, I'm just saying, when I visually see it, as someone's had to work with licensing, Lucasfilm licensing.
This is fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
This is fun. Yeah.
And it'd be great if they had like a little Suka pack that could throw yolk in your face and shit. Like they summon like little baby rancors out the ground.
Look at them go.
Yeah.
That was
It'd be great if you could team up with 3 other and form like a Jawa Voltron looking thing. Like,
look, it says Utini.
Yeah.
I guess that's his name.
Right.
Utuni.
Yeah. And the Droideka Ugnaught is cute. It's cool, but
Yeah, I like that. I think that's pretty fun
It'd be
too.
fun to give the droideka a Jar Jar hat. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want stupid fun. I don't want like corporate fun.
Yeah.
I felt this way since the '90s. Like when Star Wars was supposed to be a Mortal Kombat fighting game. Don't make it a real story. Just digitize all the actors and let's have an over the top Star Wars Mortal Kombat like battle.
Yeah.
Like,
At the same time, though, I think it's important to judge what they've done, not what they should have done all the time.
right, right.
Like it's like, what did they do and what have they done?
Yeah.
This video's lagging up on me right now.
Let
But
me know how it plays. I'm not playing it.
yeah, well, my whole thing is that it's primarily going to be a phone game, from what I understand,
Oh, definitely not
and
playing it.
that doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah.
I like to play on my Xbox One or on my GeForce Now or whatever. So I'm hoping, I'm
Or
hoping
VR.
yeah, it would be fun in VR, but it looks like, to me, I really won't be very happy with the limited amount of characters that it's going to get. But even Fortnite launched with a couple of
What if they just put
characters.
all the Kenner action figures in there and just let you fight in the goddamn with the fucking figures, man? Like all of them.
I would love, yeah, no, I would love that. I think, like I said, it could be fun. You never know what's going to work with these games, and I feel personally pretty burned more by the little baby Star Wars games than I have the movies. Like, oh, here's Tiny Death Star, buy this, okay, and then and then all of a sudden, oh, we're just not doing that anymore. We just quit it. It's just gone, and it's like
They
people
had like
like
a Star Wars Diablo looking game for a while, didn't they? Like on the phone. Like it was one of those like it
they
went nowhere. Like
yeah they still have another one that like that's like a microtransaction based thing that they still make money on. But
I have to
yeah,
disagree with you, Star Wars in game. We've had enough Battlefront. I'm tired of online multiplayer arena
yeah,
Star Wars games, man. I want a
feel like
super Star Wars series with new material.
you're
Like
not
that's
you're not an online gamer, and that right there is just setting up like it's generally not going to work for you. Like me, like Battlefront, I fucking loved Battlefront.
okay. Even if I were right, and honestly, I was up for. They've made two, really three when you count all the extra content in Battlefront 2 and 1. Right, they've
Yeah,
made almost 10 years of nothing but Battlefront.
yeah.
How much more Battlefront do you need?
Well,
Like
I'll answer that for you. Battlefront should be a continually developing platform.
games as a service, fair enough.
Yeah, and
Games as a service, fair enough.
and it should. And if they did that and they don't fuck people over and don't like not make Ahsoka and not make Ventress and do shit that people want, it will prosper. It's waiting there saying, please, please fuck me. I just want to be fucked.
But they treated Battlefront like it's going to be the only game they ever make, and it's going to be like Madden, where you just buy a new one every other fucking year with incremental stat updates, and it should be a games as a service model.
Yeah, they I mean, like for in my house, if it was free to play, and if they charged $9.99 every time they made Ahsoka, Anakin, and Ventress right now, I would have spent 30 for me, my daughter, and my son. They'd have $90 from me from that alone this year. Instead, they've got jack shit from me, and I've been spending the money in Fortnite. And that's what this is attempting, I think, to rectify to some extent, and maybe it will. But at the same time, Fortnite is so. I mean, if you like,
not gonna go anywhere.
If you like that style of thing, Fortnite is near perfect right now. People are shitting on it. Like Fortnite used to be good. In my opinion, Fortnite right now is as good as like the last 3 seasons of Fortnite have been so much fun. And they do a smart thing in Fortnite where like 3 seasons ago now or 3 whatever it was now, it was like all bows and arrows. It was like primitive weapons, and then like
it's an online game they showed for the Switch. It's going nowhere. I can assure you now.
Well, I when I signed up for it, they asked me 50,000 questions about my PC gaming habits, and so I have a feeling that if they're going to launch it on the Switch, because it's going to scale younger and smaller and simpler, and then I think that if it connects, then they're going to keep trying to bring it they're going to try to raise its presence as a platform. At the same time, though, like Boba Fett's coming to Fortnite on Christmas Eve with Fennec Shand, and I am about 20 times more excited to give them $20 for a fucking Boba Fett and Fennec Shand skin to play Fortnite than I am about what I just saw in that game, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I'm hoping I play it and I completely feel differently about it. And I do have an iPad, so maybe I could play it on my iPad, and it will make it at least a little bit better. But I don't really like playing games where you got to point and shoot and do that kind of shit like with a touch screen. It's not right.
And I don't like I hate the controls. I don't like glass controls. People, oh, the buttons are great. Yo, your phone is gonna get 10 billion degrees hot.
Yeah,
like, I don't like what games do to phones.
But I don't like it either. I don't think it's the right way to.
I ever have a Game Boy that just heats up to 1,000,000 degrees after you play it for an hour? Could you imagine? It's ridiculous. Like, could you imagine if your Oculus heated up like that? Your whole face is burning and shit. Like,
it'd be great.
No,
sunburn. No. Take it off. You look like fucking.
It's modern wife beater tan, but like you just got the burn-in goggle face.
I was thinking Close Encounters of the Third Kind when he gets the sunburn. When you take that shit off, like you got radiation burns.
Yeah, it's inverted though. It's like pink here, white instead of white, pink, and then white. Yeah.
Galaxy of Heroes premiered right as I was completely frustrated and mad with the state of how they had treated Star Wars mobile gaming or whatever, and I was like, fuck it, I never tried it. And looking at from what I heard about it, and I saw people that like spent like hundreds of, if not thousands of dollars on it over the history of it and got banned from it for like stupid shit and stuff. I'm like, oh, I am the same, dude. Like Mark Hamilton, Star Wars: The Age of Empires, Galactic Battlegrounds. I went to EB Games the morning that came out to pick it up. I was so excited for that one. And the expansion, I loved it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And I would love if they made a perfect Star Wars Tower Defense game as well. Like Tower Defense is a fun concept, and they've toyed around with it with Star Wars, but they made a Clone Wars one that was okay. The game doesn't work anymore, but the Yoda bobblehead still does that it came with.
Their best way to compete with Fortnite is just keep putting Star Wars characters in Fortnite and let it turn Battlefront into a free-to-play games of a service, whatever you want to do.
Well, you know what Fortnite's doing right now is, that one game like where you try to figure out who's like the liar. Well, there's like 10 people.
I don't play Fortnite, bro.
No.
I do not know what you're talking about.
I'm not talking about Fortnite. It's a main.
Those Among Us.
Yeah, they ripped off that, and it's a mode in Fortnite now, and so I can just go play that on
Blizzard model.
Yeah. I mean, the Battle Royale model was ripped off too. They just been ripping everything off, and
I just want them to rip off Super Star Wars and make some new fucking. That's hard about this.
That's kind of my point. Is I wish that if they had made this game a subset of Fortnite. In a section that's always open, that's like the Star Wars section. They could introduce Star Wars skins and have all of the Star Wars gameplay and rules in there, and then you could take the skins out into the main game, and you could have Ventress with the machine gun or whatever. Fine, but in there they could totally do it. It's set up for it right now. There's
for me the funnest Star Wars gaming they've done is the pinball VR pinball stuff.
I love it too. Yeah. Although I will say that last Mando table was good, but they've made quite a few bad tables. But the original Empire Strikes Back table that they made was so good. It's definitely, and I wish there was a way for them to integrate the old Star Wars actual physical tables into it. I don't know if the companies who created it, Williams or whoever, is still around, but it would be great if they were able to bring retro tables and the Indiana Jones table.
They're around. They can license them. They just don't want to.
Yeah, it would be nice if they did. It would be very appreciated. Strangely, I'm gonna contradict myself to some extent though. Love the pinball tables in VR. So much fun, but will probably play the pinball tables on my phone more than I ever played them in VR. in actuality, because pinball is something you pick up and you hit it out. Like,
I
yeah,
like to be able to get it right in on the table and see shit. I can't see on a
same.
fucking phone.
Yeah, no,
Need depth.
I play that on the iPad. Still play the old Star Wars tables on the iPad from time to time, and they're great. They are great, and I'm with you. I really love all of it. Just don't love it when it's all shitty, or when it just gets abandoned or greatly mismanaged. On a side note that relates to this, the actor who plays Cal Kestis says big announcement tomorrow, and everybody's like, it's going to be Battlefront 2, or Fallen Order 2. Fallen Order 2 is going to be tomorrow, because the actor is saying that there's a thing. But
meanwhile, he's playing young Fred Flintstone.
He's probably been cast as Ron Howard in the Opie story.
He's actually playing George Jetson in a live action
Netflix Opie.
Yeah. He's like, science fiction epic coming, big science fiction epic tomorrow, and you're like, it's the Jetsons, fucking redhead.
I wouldn't mind a Jetsons live action movie. I think there's a lot to do with that, actually, probably. But yeah,
I'm not shitting on the idea. I'm just saying, careful what everyone thinks. It's like, what was it? Who was it? It's on the tip of my tongue. With Crash, these guys that did all the voice work on Crash, they're like, there's gonna be a big thing tomorrow, and everyone thought it was gonna be this announcement for a new Crash game, and there was certain, and had nothing to do with. So it's like, just they have other jobs. Be pleasantly surprised. But we thought Disney Plus Day, for certain we were gonna get at least a logo. And just expect little.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still hoping that maybe we get a little something out of D23 for Star Wars. And
the Galactic Starship is the Star Wars thing. That's all.
Well, is there any live action panel?
No, it's all theme park, retro wall stuff on the parks, park, wall, park.
There's no movie stuff at all, huh?
None.
Interesting.
And they put that. I got sent direct to my fucking mail, like from D23, because I had to become a member online to get that Disney Plus 3-year deal. So for like $100 or some shit, like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad, because it's really an insufferable experience to have to go there. And
could not. Every time I'd see you and Katz having to go to the Anaheim Convention Center for that shit, I just feel like that must be fucking horrible.
Yeah, and then they make you bag your phone and stuff. I go in the bathroom and take it out of the bag, put it back in my pocket, and then
I'd rather be stuck at a Disney gift shop in the park for 3 hours than Disney Plus D23, like, because at least you could walk around. Like, you're stuck.
It really actually truly isn't bad, as just if you could just go and do the stuff, but you have to like stay up overnight practically to make it happen most of the time, and it's a clusterfuck. And like that's the part that I'm not missing, and don't even know if it was worth the effort, to do. I have all these posters in my closet from it right now, from like that I got from it, and it's like everybody's excited about them because I'm now, and I'm like, I can throw these things in the trash right now. I so don't care about them, But yeah, but I'm a shill, I only say good things about Star Wars at all costs.
And if I'm saying bad things, I'm specifically talking to one or two people who watch the show. I'm not gonna say who you are.
Rio.
You know who you are.
Fucking
now they know who they are. Now they're frothing at the mouth. It's you.
I'm kidding.
It's definitely you.
I love you, Del Rio. I don't mean any of it. I'm sorry.
I like Del. Dude takes the time to write. So you know what I mean.
I like Del Rio and Del Taco. What are you gonna do about it, Rob?
Now we got words.
You should try it.
I want to like Del Taco. It was my father did Taco Tuesdays with me, 1980, 81 to 83, at the Del Taco in Claremont San Diego. It's on the way to the beach. Take the back road to the beach. There's this Del Taco right there.
Yeah.
And I have fond memories of that. And when we moved to Lakeside, they had a Taco Bell. We had to switch to Taco Bell. I was bummed. I wanted the Del Taco.
Mm-hmm.
Having eaten at Del Taco as a good adult, every time I go in there, I'm trying to find the magic I had. I'm like, oh no, I had the taste buds of a fucking 3-year-old.
Oh, I still have those.
Yeah, you still have those, or you have to smoke a lot of weed, which you don't do anymore. But I'm just saying,
when we do hang out in person, I am going to start smoking weed again, hotbox you in the drive-thru of a Del Taco, and you're gonna be like, "This is so good." What? No.
Stir and whip and stir and whip and stir and whip, like fucking. Yeah. I love that Brian, was it Brian, the guy who does all this like Star Wars like posters and stuff, did the stir and whip poster for Life Day yesterday. I sent it to you. He got a lot of hate for it. He's like, fucking people hate this.
Really?
Yeah, he did. He got a lot of hate for that.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was funny to call him a fucking monster just because it was a hilarious thing to immortalize. But Justin says that was the best analogy ever by a Del Taco. But
basically, I inadvertently trolled the show.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think we've said it all. I think we've done it. I think we started to show off about what might be coming for Obi-Wan Kenobi. We talked about The Last Jedi. Talked about controversies, where things should go. Then we took it contrivances, and then we took it over into
Brian
comic book.
He's good.
And comic books, and at the end we ended with Del Taco and drugs. So I think that's all of the things. Oh, and a girl got her period in it.
High school football.
I feel like you don't happen to have that image on you right now, do you? By any chance? I feel like
the image.
Yeah, I feel like okay. We'll try to show it tomorrow because I feel like, but yeah, check out Brian Ward on Twitter. On the Twitter,
he's great, nice dude.
And
I'm Twitter friends. I don't know him in person.
Yeah, I don't know him, but he's probably like from the part of the family who doesn't talk to this part of the family. That's my guess.
That's why I was like, I don't know, what's his last name? Samson. Ward, of course. Yeah. It's the S. It doesn't have the S because your last name is Wards.
Wards with an S.
I say everyone's last name as if Jason Mewes were saying it.
Okay,
that's my way of dealing.
That's fair. Remember when that person was like trying to white knight another Star Wars podcast against us for some reason 17 years later? And the people in glass houses. Jason Award.
Yeah, Jason Award. Yeah, that's the guy I was making fun of for the writing, not Del Rio. It was Jason Award. It's like, look, I am the worst typist on the internet, but come on, breathe, and spell check. Just run it through Google Drive, paste it back in. You'll be fine.
We'll make it.
We'll see it.
But we will be back on tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and talking about whatever's going on.
Spider-Man trailer.
That already happened, right?
Who cares?
Okay. All right.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, well, Tobey Maguire. Why does he look so dumb? I don't know.
Why does he look like he's laughing when he cries?
Why does he look like? Why does he? I feel like Tobey Maguire and Jim Brewer are like this A to Z on some other person. Does that make sense? The
craziest part is Tobey Maguire turning. Like, I don't have an official confirmation, but I've heard the story personally from someone who was on production. Was that he was offered the voice role for Spider-Verse for the hobo Spider-Man that's supposed to be, and he turned it down. I'm done with that. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, should have done it. Dumb move if true.
Oh yeah, make sure to like the video and subscribe to. I'm supposed to tell people that stuff. I'm really bad at this job. But thank you, Dale. Because if you want more Jason,
it says right there at the fucking bottom, or at the show, Patreon, Chapel, Super Chat. Yeah, the Super Chats do Jason more than liking the show.
That helps. But I think it's just there all the time, so nobody even looks at it anymore. When's the next UFO show? That is a good question. I almost did a UFO bit today because I saw an interesting video, but maybe I'll do one this weekend. I'll have to see if anybody feels like it, and then I'm not sure what I am. I'm not sure if I have my kids this weekend or not. I don't think I do. If I don't, I'll probably do one because I feel like doing. And then we have like
I can do it this weekend if you want.
You do it this weekend? Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, because I've seen some interesting stuff. I think it would be fun to do just to delve back into that stuff. And then I have a couple of ideas. I might spin off a whole another like UFO channel, and just where I could just go in and be like, look at what I saw on our UFOs today.
If you limit it to 30 minutes, bro, you'd be doing quite well with that channel.
Yeah. I think
I would keep those shorter.
Yeah. Just be like, here's what is going on. What do you think? I don't know. Is it fake? Mm-hmm. And then people go like, you believe everything, and I'll be like, yeah,
I do. I believe everything. I believed Meg and the rest of the internet that everything was going to be revealed at D20.
That wasn't Meg's fault.
She's going to fucking rip my throat out when we've been, one day I'll be in LA and she'll be like, righto, boosh, with the right hook, boosh. It'll be like fighting Sherlock Holmes in a Robert Downey Jr. movie,
Yeah, I'm just going to say, like, Meg could be a total chav and we don't know it. She's not. That'd be hilarious. That'd be great.
Everyone needs a villain. And I know I turn out to be that one just because of my personality. Fuck your laugh, fucking know-it-all motherfucker.
Yeah. They got me. Don't worry about it.
And your stupid retro backgrounds and your stupid sweater.
Yeah. Think of the dude. Not the dude.
I'm not. I'm the least. I gotta be honest. Anger-wise, I was more like Walter around that era. Not that I pulled guns. I would ever pull a gun on someone. I'm not a gun nut, but like that yelling at your friends because you think it's kind of funny, and you can. I was not. I was a hothead as a kid, right?
Yeah. So, I feel like we're a dude Voltron.
Yeah.
We
I'm more like Steve Buscemi now. I'm not really paying attention.
Like the Jawas, and I think maybe we can make a dude.
Yeah, like that's your thing, dude. Don't you? Yeah, well, what you have to pay attention, Donnie.
It is true. I think a lot of the Star Wars fandom would be better served to just go with the dude. And if you don't know, the Quinlan Voss is the dude. They made Quinlan Voss into the dude. No joke. It's you either love it or you hate it. I love it. But all right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy Ghostbusters if you see it. Don't get sick.
Punch it.
Be vaccinated.
Punch it.
If you're gonna